Gauteng Finance MEC Lebogang Maile has readjusted the budget allocation for non-profit organisations to 2.1 billion rand. This follows months of complaints over lack of funding, which left many organisations on the verge of collapse. More than 800 of them have been impacted by payment delays.
So as the Gauteng Provincial Treasury, we are deeply committed to ensuring that NPOs operating within the province are paid timeously in order to ensure the continuation and seamless provision of services. To this end, undertaking has been made by the Gauteng Provincial Government to reinstate non-profit organizations' NPOs budget to the 2023/2024 adjustment budget of let's see here, we've written 2 billion. I thought it's 1 billion. So treasury people are here, they are confirming that it's 2 billion. So don't make me lie. So it's going to be 2.131 billion. So this represents a growth of 13% against the 2023/2024 actual expenditure to accommodate new applications for funding in the current financial year.
Newzroom Afrika's Veronica Makhoali attended the briefing and now joins us live in studio. Veronica, good to see you. Very good morning.
Good morning, Hugo. Very interesting day today in terms of what's come out of the briefing, as you've mentioned, and readjustment of that budget to 2.1 billion. And I think this is a victory, I think, for NPOs. And this is essentially all that they've been waiting for, a commitment and a tangible timeline from the finance in terms of the MEC Lebogang Maile, as well as the Social Development Department.
Well, it's an interesting development, certainly, because there were numerous complaints. We had members of various NPOs on the channel talking to multiple discrepancies, and some of them have been forced to shut down. What's brought about this change?
Well, essentially what has happened is that before, of course, we saw the new administration coming through, the Social Development Department had went on a series of an audit essentially for these NPOs. Firstly, this was coming about the budget constraints that the department was facing, and so it felt that it had to do some sort of a recon to say, where is the money going? Where are the leaks within the department? And during this audit, it found that there were several NPOs that were non-compliant. In fact, there was also issues of deep-seated corruption within some of these sectors. You'd understand that some people find a way to take advantage of what is essentially a needed facility in terms of, social welfare in Gauteng. And some of these NPOs were flouting certain regulations. Others were not really following what was needed in terms of the measures to receive funding. And so essentially the department took a decision to halt these subsidies, to stop these grants until it could essentially investigate where the leaks were coming from in terms of their funds. But this, of course, had a devastating impact on some of those NPOs that were indeed following those regulations. We saw really just the crisis starting to deepen in the very beginning of this year, where many of those NPOs, we're talking about, GBV shelters, we're talking about children's homes, we're talking about, shelters for the elderly, many of them having to close their doors or stop their services because they couldn't provide the services needed to those vulnerable beneficiaries. And so this really created a repercussion where many of the subsidies were not being paid and stopping these services. But what's more important now, Hugo, from where they are, a lot of back and forth litigation, in fact, as well, that took place with the NPOs against the Social Development Department. This was in May. You would remember they took the department to court, and the High Court ruled that the department needed to pay these subsidies, needed to provide the statuses to see who essentially is in line with the regulations and make sure that they do get paid. This didn't happen. And this, of course, created the blunder and the issue and the frustration that we also saw coming out of these organizations, with many saying that the department has not been forthcoming, has not been keeping up to the timelines as promised. And today we heard a different story coming from the MEC in terms of the finances, but also the support needed to those NPOs. Let's have a listen essentially of what is now going to take place after today.
There are currently a few NPOs that have not been paid due to compliance issues. A total of 13 NPOs are under investigation, while 6 have been deemed non-compliant. The outcome of the investigation will guide the next steps insofar as payment is concerned. Where matters of compliance are resolved, payments will be made. In addition to non-compliant NPOs, applications for 23 NPOs have not been found in the system, while 6 NPOs have since been closed or are deemed untraceable.
Veronica, thanks very much. Appreciate your time in studio and unpacking those issues for us.